They were never loud about it, but when Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson came together, the world felt it. Two seemingly different souls, one the frontman of one of the world's most iconic bands, the other a rising star in the world of film, collided in a love story that unfolded quietly, powerfully, and ultimately, heartbreakingly. And behind all the smiles at premieres, the late-night hand-holding, and the rare but radiant glimpses into their private world, there was a song. One song. Written not just for her, but because of her. And once you hear the truth behind it, you'll never listen the same way again. Before we dive into the music, the metaphors, and the moment Chris sat at the piano and bled out his truth in melody, pause for a second. If you've ever felt the sting of loving someone and letting them go, then hit like. If you believe in the kind of love that leaves echoes in every room you walk through, then share this story. And if you're here to uncover the emotional DNA of one of Coldplay's most vulnerable tracks, stay close, because what you're about to hear might just change how you understand not only Chris Martin but the very purpose of songwriting itself. Let's rewind. Chris Martin, the creative heart of Coldplay, had always poured pieces of himself into his lyrics. Whether it was the soaring melancholy of Fix You or the hopeful ache of The Scientist, he never shied away from making his music a mirror. But when Dakota Johnson entered his life, something shifted. There was a new kind of softness in him, one that friends and fans couldn't quite put into words. Dakota brought a stillness to Chris, an anchor in a world that constantly demanded motion. And for a time, they built something that felt untouched by fame. Dinner dates in Malibu. Long walks away from cameras. Secret gestures only they understood. But as with all things rare and precious, the more quietly it bloomed, the more fragile it became. Now, here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In late 2023, Coldplay released a song that seemed to slip under the radar for many casual listeners. It wasn't a chart dominator like Viva La Vida or a stadium anthem like A Sky Full of Stars. But for those paying attention, this track, hidden in the folds of the album like a whispered confession, was something else entirely. The lyrics were sparse, poetic, aching. They spoke of a presence that lingered, even when gone. Of a home built in someone's eyes. Of a love that didn't need the world's approval, only time. And then came the line that cracked everything open. If I could hold you now without breaking us both, I would. Fans were quick to speculate. Who was this about? Why did Chris sing it like a man standing on the edge of goodbye? Behind the scenes, whispers began to circulate. Industry insiders hinted that the track had been written just weeks after Chris and Dakota had quietly taken space from one another. No announcement. No drama. Just a pause. And in that pause, Chris did what he always does. He wrote. But this time, it wasn't for the charts. It wasn't for the band. It was for her. For the one who taught him how to be still, how to be seen. Now, here's your mid-story moment to really lean in, because what most people don't know is that this wasn't the first time Dakota had been the muse. Back in 2019, a Coldplay track featured a faint female vocal in the background, uncredited, but unmistakably hers. A small gift. A private imprint. Chris had woven Dakota into the very fabric of Coldplay's sound long before fans even knew they were together. It was never about publicity. It was always about connection. Pure, simple, and real. Their love wasn't performative. It was the kind that unfolded in quiet rooms, away from paparazzi, shared between friends who respected their space. But love, especially in the lives of artists, is rarely just about the moment. It's about the transformation it sparks. Dakota changed Chris. She reminded him how to live in the now, how to embrace both vulnerability and mystery. And when the weight of schedules, careers, and distance became too much, they chose peace. Even if it meant parting, but that goodbye didn't come with anger. It came with gratitude. And it came with music. The recording session for the song, still unnamed in public press releases but rumored to be called Letting You, was one of the most intimate the band had ever experienced. Chris insisted on no overproduction. Just a piano, a string section, and one take. The room reportedly went silent after he finished. No one clapped. No one moved. Because what they just witnessed wasn't performance. It was confession, and here's the twist that no one saw coming. Dakota heard the song before anyone else. Chris sent it to her privately, along with a note. Short. Simple. It read, "For what was. For what will always be." She never publicly commented on it. But in a Vanity Fair interview months later, when asked about her thoughts on love and timing, she said something curious: "Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back. Let someone become who they're meant to be, even if it's not with you." The synchronicity was undeniable, and in the weeks following the song's release, Coldplay fans across the world began reporting something strange. The track wasn't being played on radio. It wasn't featured in ads. But it kept showing up, in curated playlists, in background scores for indie films, even in wedding videos. Quietly, steadily, the song began to spread. Like a secret being whispered from one broken heart to another, and this is where it all comes together, because Letting You isn't just a love song. It's a blueprint. A roadmap for those who've ever had to say goodbye to someone they still love. For those who understand that love isn't always meant to be held, it's sometimes meant to be remembered. Chris Martin didn't just write a song for Dakota Johnson. He built her a monument. Not one made of stone or spotlight, but one crafted in melody, in silence, in all the things left unsaid. And Dakota? She didn't need to claim it. She didn't need to validate it. Because the most powerful tributes don't need acknowledgement. They just need truth. So the next time you hear that haunting piano, that trembling vocal, that final line that fades into nothingness, remember this story. Remember that behind every lyric is a heartbeat. Behind every note, a name. And if you've ever had to let go of someone, not because you stopped loving them, but because you loved them enough to let them grow, then this song is for you too. It's for all the midnight texts you never sent. For the songs you skipped because they reminded you too much. For the goodbyes that didn't need doors slamming or promises breaking, but instead, gentle nods and teary smiles. This is the story behind Chris Martin's song for Dakota Johnson. A story not of endings, but of echoes, and if this story resonated with you, don't let it fade. Like, comment, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Because music, like love, is meant to be passed on, and somewhere out there, someone is still listening.